Welcome to Fear and Fiction, where the stories are strange and the fear is real. What's going on, Fear and Fiction family? We are back at it. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope you're staying out of trouble. Today, we're going to dive into some barbershop horror stories. Get in those comments and tell me your crazy barbershop story. Now let's get into it. I got my barber license 8 months ago, and I just rented my first chair at a shop on Door Street in Toledo. Your first chair is everything. It's the difference between being somebody's apprentice and being a barber. I must have called 20 shots before this one said yes. The shop has 6 stations, 3 on each wall, mirrors facing each other the way barbershops do. So when you stand in the middle, you can see yourself repeating forever in both directions. 5 of the stations are worked. Mine is the newest, closest to the door. The 6th chair sits in the back corner, last station on the left. It has a full setup, clippers on the counter, combs in the blue liquid, a cape folded over the armrest like somebody just stepped away. First week, I figured the 6 barber worked weekends or came in late. Nobody works that chair. I found that out my 8th day. The shop was packed, every chair going, waiting area full. I had a fade to finish and my outlet was acting up, so I carried my clippers toward the back to use the corner outlet. And without thinking anything of it, I set my clippers down on the arm of the 6th chair. 2 seconds, just to free my hand. Every barber in that shop stopped. The buzzing from 5 pairs of Andy's clippers disappeared almost at once, and a barber shop with no clippers running is quieter than a church. I looked up, and everybody was looking at me, not angry, something else. The most senior man in the shop, been cutting on Door Street longer than I've been alive, walked over, picked my clippers up off the chair, handed them to me, and said one thing, "Not that one." Then everybody went back to cutting like nothing happened. I didn't ask questions my first month. You don't rent your first chair and start interrogating people. But I watched, and here's what I saw. The cape on that 6th chair gets refolded. I know because I memorized how it sat. Half over the armrest, tag out. Every few mornings the fold is different. Tag in, draped instead of folded. Once, laid flat across the seat like it was waiting for a head. Nobody in the shop touches that chair. The combs in the blue liquid get low, and then they're full again. I never see anyone fill them. And on Saturdays, our loudest, busiest day, there's a moment that happens almost every week. The shop will be roaring, music going, 5 conversations at once, and then it goes quiet for a second the way rooms sometimes do. And in that 1 second of quiet, I swear I hear clippers running from the back corner. I finally asked him about it around month 3, waited till we were the last 2 closing up. He didn't act surprised. He sat down in his own chair, looked at the 6th station in the mirror. In the mirror, I noticed, not directly, and told me about the man who used to cut there. 41 years in that corner, cut 3 generations of the same families. First cuts before kindergarten, lineups before graduations, weddings, court dates, funerals, deacons, drug dealers, judges. Everybody sat in that chair, and everybody was equal in it. Half the grown men on Door Street got their first cut from that man, and he remembered every one of their names. He passed 6 years back, heart, at home, quiet. The shop closed for a week. When they opened back up, the owner tried to rent the station out, twice. The old barber said both new guys lasted less than a month. First one said his clippers kept turning off mid-cut, only at that station. Second one didn't say anything, just packed his stuff one Tuesday morning, left an envelope with his chair rent, and never came back. After that, they left the station set up the way he kept it. Combs in the blue, cape on the arm. I asked the old barber if he believed the man was still back there. He took a while answering. Then he said something I think about every time I open the shop alone. He said 41 years he never once missed a day. Why would he start now? I've been there 8 months. I keep my station tight. I'm building my book, and I don't touch the 6th chair. But I'll tell you the thing I've never told anybody at the shop. Some mornings I open up alone. First one in, lights off, shop quiet. And twice now, twice, I have unlocked that door and heard, just for the first half second before the bell over the door drowns it out, the sound of clippers running in the back corner. Both times, by the time the bell stopped ringing, the sound was gone. The first time, I talked myself out of it before I even got my jacket off. A shop that old hums. The mini fridge kicks on, the neon sign buzzes, the pipes knock. I told myself I'd heard 60 years of old building doing what old buildings do, and I almost believed it. Except clippers don't hum. Clippers have a pitch. Anybody who holds a pair 8 hours a day knows that pitch the way you know your own name. That's what I heard. I stood in the doorway for 5 minutes before I came in. The second time, I just said good morning. I figure if I'm going to build my career in that shop, me and the man in the back corner should be on speaking terms. The old barber saw me say it once and nodded like I'd finally learned something. 41 years and he never missed a day. He still hasn't. My barber works out of a small shop off Clarissa Street in Rochester, New York. 2 chairs, him and one other guy, been in that same spot over 20 years. I've been going to him for 6. He still keeps a paper appointment book, big one, leather cover gone soft, sits open on the counter by the register. He doesn't take appointments through any app, and he never will. You call, he writes you in. That's the system. I was early for my cut on a Saturday back in the spring, sitting in the waiting chairs with the appointment book open on the counter facing me. Saturday's page. My name at 1:30. And above it at 12 o'clock, a name written in blue ink. 12 o'clock came. Nobody showed. And my barber did nothing. That's what caught me. He was cutting the 11:15, taking his time like always. 12 became 12:15. He never called the name, never checked his phone, never did any of the things a barber does when an appointment no-shows. And look, my first read was the boring one. Regular customer standing slot, probably calls ahead when he's coming, and my barber just leaves the line filled in out of habit. People run their books all kinds of ways. I had myself fully convinced, and I would have stayed convinced if the other barber hadn't stepped out at exactly noon and left his chair empty for exactly an hour with walk-ins waiting. You don't do that for a no-show. You do that for somebody. It was like the 12 o'clock was happening, like somebody was in it. The other barber took his lunch at noon. I noticed that too, only later, that he stepped out at exactly 12 and came back at exactly 1. And while he was gone, his chair sat empty and nobody got put in it, even though there were walk-ins waiting. I asked my barber about it when I got in his chair. Casual, joking almost. Your 12 o'clock stood you up. He kept cutting for a second. Then he met my eyes in the mirror and asked how I knew about his 12 o'clock. Not defensive, careful, like the question mattered. I told him I saw the book. He was quiet for most of my cut after that. Then, while he was lining me up, he told me. The man in the 12 o'clock slot started coming to him 30 years ago, back when my barber was renting a chair in somebody else's shop. Same time every other Saturday, 12 o'clock. Never late, never canceled. When my barber opened his own place, the man followed him. Sat in that chair every other Saturday for over 2 decades. Watched my barber's kids grow up in that shop. Paid for a young man's first cut every September before school started. Some kid from the neighborhood, different kid every year, whoever needed it. He passed 9 years ago. My barber went to the service, cut his hair one last time before it, at the funeral home, because the family asked, and because he said there was no version of him saying no. I asked the obvious question, so why is he still in the book? My barber finished my lineup before he answered. Then he put the clippers down and picked up the appointment book and turned it around so I could see Saturday's page. He put his finger next to the 12 o'clock name. That's not my handwriting. It's not the other barber's either. Every appointment book he's bought since the man passed, he showed me, he keeps the old ones in a drawer. Every single one. When he gets to a Saturday and turns the page, the 12 o'clock line is already filled in. Same name, same blue ink. He's bought books from different stores. He's opened brand new ones straight from the plastic. And one time in 9 years, he flipped to the Saturday page early on a Friday night, and when he touched the name, the ink smeared. It was still wet, 9 years. Every other Saturday, the 12 o'clock is taken. I asked him if he'd ever seen it happen. The writing, no. It's like the book comes that way now. Like the slot was never his to give out in the first place. Then he told me the part I haven't been able to leave alone since. Every September, the first week of school, some kid from the neighborhood comes into the shop for a first cut of the year. Different kid every year. And every year, when the kid goes to pay, there's already money in the register drawer that my barber can't account for. Folded the same way. Same amount. Adjusted up over the years, like whoever's leaving it knows what a cut costs now. He stopped trying to explain it years ago. He just cuts the kid's hair. I still go every other week. I've looked at the book twice since. I can't help it. The 12 o'clock name is always there, and the slot always sits empty at noon, and my barber works around it the way you work around anything that's earned its place. 30 years of Saturdays. Some appointments don't end just because the customer stops showing up. Some customers never stop showing up. We just stop being able to see them in the chair. I'm 17, and I've got a job sweeping hair at a barbershop in the Albina neighborhood in Portland. Before you say anything, I know it's not glamorous. My mom knows the owner, and she wanted me somewhere after school that wasn't the house. So 3 days a week plus Saturdays, I sweep hair, wipe down stations, run the vacuum, restock towels, and lock the back while the owner locks the front. I take the sweeping seriously. That sounds funny, but it's true. The owner is particular. He says a barbershop with hair on the floor is like a restaurant with dirty tables. Doesn't matter how good the food is. So when I close, that floor is clean. I sweep it twice. Once rough, once detailed, and the detailed pass I do chair by chair, getting under the footrest with the small broom. Nobody can tell me that floor isn't clean when I leave. That matters for what I'm about to tell you. Back in February, I came in on a Tuesday after school and the owner asked me, first thing before I even put my bag down, whether I'd swept the whole floor Saturday night. I said yeah, like always. He looked at me for a second and said okay, and that was it. The next week it happened again. This time he showed me. He'd opened up that morning to find hair on the floor around chair 2, not dust or tracked-in dirt, hair clippings. Fresh cut hair, in the pattern hair falls when somebody's getting a cut, and a ring around the chair. He took a picture on his phone before he swept it, and he showed me the picture. And I'm telling you, it looked like the floor looks around my station at 6 p.m. on a busy Saturday. A full cut's worth. I swept Saturday night. I did my 2 passes. The owner locked the front. I locked the back. The alarm was set. Sunday and Monday, the shop is closed. Nobody has keys except the owner and one other barber who was out of town. And for a minute, I'll admit this, I doubted myself. Saturday closes get long. Maybe I'd done my rough pass and skipped the detail pass. Maybe I swept 5 chairs and thought I swept 6. I actually stood there running the whole Saturday night back in my head, step by step, trying to catch myself in a shortcut. But I do that floor the same way every time. Rough pass front to back, detail pass chair by chair, small broom under the footrest. It's the only part of the job that's fully mine, and I don't skip it. The owner didn't accuse me of anything. That's the part that got my attention. He wasn't asking whether I did my job. He was confirming that I had. Because if I did my job, and I did, then the hair on the floor Tuesday morning came from somewhere else. It's happened 3 times now. Always chair 2, always the same pattern, a ring around the chair the way hair falls off a cape when the cut's done and the barber shakes it out. The owner started sweeping it up himself before the other barbers get in. He doesn't want it becoming a thing in the shop. But he told me about chair 2. The man who cut at chair 2 before I was born had been in that shop since the 80s. The owner apprenticed under him, learned everything at that station. Fades, tapers, straight razor work, how to talk to customers, how to hold the neighborhood stories without repeating them. The man cut hair at chair 2 until the week before he passed, and his last cuts were that Saturday, and the owner says he swept up after him that night himself, and that was the last hair that ever should have fallen at that station from those clippers. The owner rents chair 2 out now. There's a young barber on it, nice guy, does good work. The hair I sweep around chair 2 at closing is his. The hair that shows up on Tuesday mornings is not. I asked the owner once, just once, if he was going to do anything about it. Cameras point at the register and the front door, not the chairs, so there's no footage of the floor. He could move a camera. He hasn't. He thought about my question for a while. Then he said the man taught him everything, and if the man wants to come in on a Sunday, when the shop is quiet and do a few heads, the least the shop can do is have a clean floor waiting for him. Then he looked at me and said, "That's why I ask if you swept. I'm not checking on you. I'm making sure the floor is ready." So now that's how I think about my job. 3 days a week plus Saturdays, I sweep that floor twice, detailed past chair by chair, and when I get to chair 2, I do it a little more carefully than the others. Not because the owner told me to, because whoever's cutting in there on Sundays deserves a clean shop, same as anybody. And because the one time I rushed it, one Saturday in April when I had somewhere to be, the owner called me Tuesday morning and told me real quiet that this time the hair on the floor wasn't in a ring around the chair. It was swept into a pile, next to the broom, like somebody had to clean up after me. I've never rushed that floor again. I own a 2-chair shop near the Deep Deuce area of Oklahoma City. Bought it 4 years ago from a man who was retiring, kept most of it the way he had it. The chairs, the layout, the long mirror that runs the whole east wall. That mirror is original to the shop. It's older than me. It has a few dark spots in the corners where the silvering has worn, the way old mirrors get, but the glass is good, and I never saw a reason to replace it. This past winter, a Thursday afternoon, slow day. One customer in my chair, a regular, gets the same taper every 2 weeks. And one walk-in waiting, a younger dude I hadn't seen before, maybe mid-20s, posted up in the waiting area scrolling his phone. I'm working the taper, talking my usual talk, when the walk-in looks up from his phone and asks me a question. He asks who the older man by the window is. I've got clippers in my hand and my back half turned, so it takes me a second. I look at the window. Nobody's there. The waiting area has exactly one person in it. Him. It's me, my customer in the chair, and this dude. 3 people in the shop. I tell him it's just us. He kind of laughs, like I'm messing with him, and points. And that's when I see he's not pointing at the window. He's pointing at the mirror. The long mirror on the east wall catches the whole shop. The chairs, the waiting area, the front window, the door. And I follow his finger to the part of the mirror that reflects the front window. And I need to say this carefully because I've replayed it a few hundred times. In the reflection, there was a man standing by the window. Older man, 60s, 70s. Vest over a collared shirt, the way barbers dressed when dressing was part of the job. Standing near the window with his hands folded in front of him, patient, the way a man stands in his own shop when there's no head in his chair. In the mirror, he was as real as the reflection of my customer, the chairs, the light coming through the glass. In the room, the space by the window was empty. And here's where my brain did what brains do. That mirror is older than me. The silvering is worn in the corners. The glass has a wave to it if you look at an angle. And for about 2 full seconds I had it solved. A smear, a shadow off the window blinds, the wave in the old glass catching the light like a figure. I even started to say something like that out loud, to settle the room. Then I looked back and forth twice. Room, empty. Mirror, man, detailed. Buttons on the vest, hands folded. Old glass does not do buttons. My customer caught me looking and turned his head, and I watched him see it too, because his whole body went still under the cape. The walk-in stood up slowly, looking between the window and the mirror. Nobody said anything for what was probably 5 seconds and felt like a lot longer. Then the man in the mirror turned his head and looked at us. Not sudden, not aggressive. He turned his head the way you turn when you realize people are talking about you, and he looked at the 3 of us. At our reflections, or at us, I genuinely cannot tell you which. Nobody moved. My customer under the cape, the walk-in half out of his seat, me with the clipper still running in my hand, the only sound in the shop, and he gave one small nod. The nod barbers give each other. The nod that means, I see you. Keep working. I don't know how long the three of us stood there after. Long enough that the clippers started to feel heavy, and then he wasn't in the mirror anymore. No fade, no walking off the edge of the frame. There. And then the reflection showed an empty window like it was supposed to. The walk-in left, didn't get his cut, was extremely polite about it, said he'd come back another day, and to his credit, he actually did, about a month later, and we didn't talk about it. My regular stayed in the chair and let me finish his taper, and when I was done, he stood up, looked at the mirror one more time, paid, tipped double, and said, "Take care of this place." I called the man I bought the shop from that night. He's in his 80s now, sharp as ever. I described the man in the mirror, the vest, the collared shirt, the way he stood. The line was quiet a moment. Then he asked me one question. Did he nod at you? I said, yeah. He nodded. The old man let out a breath that had some relief in it. Then he told me the shop had a barber in it long before either of us. The man who opened it back when Deep Deuce was the heart of Black Oklahoma City, when that whole district was jazz clubs and Black-owned businesses before the highway came through. The founder worked that shop over 40 years. The mirror on the east wall was his. He'd had it installed the week he opened. The old man told me he saw him in that mirror exactly twice in 30 years of owning the shop. Both times the founder nodded. He said, the nod means he approves of how you're keeping the place. He said the day you should worry is the day he shows up and doesn't nod. I keep that mirror clean now. Every night, streak-free, before I lock up. Not because I'm scared. Because when the man who built the place comes by to check on it, I want him to be able to see everything clearly. And I want him to keep nodding. I moved to Youngstown, Ohio last year for work. Finding a new barber in a new city is its own whole process. You don't just walk in anywhere. I asked around at my job, got pointed to a shop on the south side, and I've been going about 8 months now. Good shop. 4 chairs, older crowd, the kind of place where the conversation is better than the TV. This happened on a Saturday morning about 2 months ago. Shop was full. I was in the chair, half done, cape on. Every barber working, waiting area loaded, the whole Saturday morning rhythm, loud, warm, somebody arguing about basketball, somebody's kid getting his first cut in the corner with his mother filming it. A man walked in, middle-aged, well-kept, dressed like he was going somewhere after, slacks, good shoes, jacket. Nothing unusual about him at all. He stood inside the door, looked around the shop like he was orienting himself, and asked for a barber by name. I won't put the name here. I'll call him Mr. W. The shop went quiet. Not all at once. It rolled, the way quiet moves through a room, conversation by conversation, until the only sound was one pair of clippers that took a second longer to stop than everything else. My barber's hands came off my head. The man at the door didn't seem to notice the temperature change. Friendly, easy, he had a standing appointment. Second Saturday of the month. Mr. W had been cutting his hair since he was a boy, and he was running a little behind today, so he apologized if he'd missed his slot. The oldest barber in the shop, a man I guess is close to 80, cuts 2 heads a day and spends the rest of the time holding court, stood up out of his barber chair, slow, careful, the way a man that age stands when he's decided something is worth standing for. He asked the man at the door what his name was, first and last name, and the old barber's face did something I've only seen a few times in my life. Recognition fighting with impossibility. He took a step closer and looked at the man properly, up and down, the way you examine something you need to be sure about. Then he said the man's name back to him, slowly, and added, "You sat in the 3rd chair, booster seat. Your mother brought you every second Saturday and paid with an envelope from her purse." The man smiled and said, "That's right." He looked pleased, like a regular being remembered. The old barber said, "That was 1968. The shop did not make a sound. I was watching in the mirror. Everybody was watching in the mirrors. Nobody turned around, the whole room watching reflections. And I saw the man at the door take that in, and his face didn't do what a face does when someone says something crazy to you. His face did something worse. It went uncertain, like a man checking his pockets for keys he was sure he had. He looked around the shop again, slower this time, at the chairs, at the wall where I found this out after. There used to be a photo of the original barbers before the renovation, at the corner where the third chair used to sit before the layout changed. Quieter now, Mr. W cuts my hair every second Saturday. Gentle as anything. Mr. W passed in 2014, son. I carried the casket. The man stood there a moment, then he nodded. Polite, small, a man not wanting to make a scene, and said he must have the wrong shop. He apologized for interrupting. He turned and walked out the door, and through the front glass, we watched him go down the sidewalk. And this is the part I need you to sit with, because 11 people watched it happen. He passed the front window, and between the end of the window and the edge of the door frame of the shop next door, a gap of maybe 4 feet of brick. He did not come out the other side. 2 of the younger barbers went out to the sidewalk, looked both ways. Saturday morning, clear sidewalk, sight lines all the way down the block, nothing. For days afterward, I tried to give myself an out. 11 people, 1 window, everybody keyed up. Maybe he turned quick. Maybe there's a recessed doorway in that gap of brick we all forgot about. Maybe memory does what memory does when a room gets strange. I drove past the block twice that week just to check. 4 feet of flat brick, no doorway, no alley, nothing to step into. The shop stayed quiet for a while after that. My barber finished my cut without saying a single word. A barbershop that quiet on a Saturday morning is its own kind of loud. The old barber didn't chase him, didn't go to the door. He looked at the empty sidewalk through the front glass for a moment. Then he sat back down in his chair and told us the rest, to nobody in particular. The man's family moved away in 1969. He'd heard years back that the man had passed out of state sometime around 2014, same year as Mr. W. The shop sat with that. Somebody's clippers eventually started back up, then somebody else's. And the old barber picked his coffee back up off the counter, looked one more time at the front window and said, quiet, mostly to himself, "He's late again." Nobody laughed, but nobody argued either. Standing appointment. I still get my cut there every 2 weeks, but I move my day. I go Thursdays now. Second Saturdays, that chair is somebody else's. Okay, if you made it to the end, I want to thank you again for taking the time to watch the video, getting those comments and tell me which story was your favorite. Please don't forget to subscribe, like the video, hype it, share it, all those good things. Have a good day.